Hello everyone, my name is Zeotrex, and today we're talking about Resident Evil Requiem. Requiem is the ninth mainline Resident Evil game and focuses on Grace Ashcroft, the daughter of Alyssa Ashcroft, investigating in a string of mysterious murders when all of a sudden she is roped into a plot that brings back Umbrella, Raccoon City, and Leon Kennedy. So, Resident Evil is a series that I have really fallen in love with this last year. I love these games a lot, and when RE9 was announced at Summer Game Fest, I was so excited to play it. I love and adore these games. So did RE9 live up to the hype? Yeah, it did. RE9 is a fucking masterpiece, honestly, in terms of its gameplay and its story and what it does to the franchise by pushing forward with a new protagonist and introducing a new formula for us to take the series in, but paying tremendous respect for the games that came before it. RE9 also blends together the two styles of Resident Evil so well, with the more action-focused sections of Leon's gameplay with the horror survival of Grace's gameplay. And this is, I think, the best of these sections, especially the action. Because action um, has been really controversial in Resident Evil, because I love RE. So it began with the hugely successful Resident Evil 4. That's the remake. The original RE4 here, and then I think 5 did a fine job with it. I think that's when it started to go too far, and then 6 took it way too far, honestly. But back to Requiem, I think it really does a great job on blending these two styles together. Grace's gameplay is sort of like the remakes and the Ethan Winters style games, where you can also play in first person. But I played it in third because I've always preferred third person, plus first person I think should be an exclusive to uh Ethan. Um it's why I like third person, but I didn't play it in Village because to me first person works so much better with Ethan. Like how I think third person works better with Grace. But I mean, it was designed around both first person and third person, so I ought to give it a try. And how does it do as a Resident Evil game? Well, it counts off the "Where's my fucking ammo?" and it counts off the mindless wandering and the "What the fuck do I do?" So it's a Resident Evil game, all right, and it has that it does have that bullshit that the games have quite a few times where you have to go backtrack all the way to the other side of the building because you forgot one thing. But that's just the Resident Evil games, and I love it. And Grace is such a fantastic addition to this franchise as well. She is the daughter of Alyssa Ashcroft from Outbreak, which I've heard good things about, but I haven't played it. And I love getting a new protagonist that's actually like horrified by the events that are going on around. It's what made 7 work so well, is because by the time you get to 6 and you have Leon and you have Jill and you have all these characters, it's not scary because these characters got used to this, whereas Ethan was dealing with these threats for the very first time. Same with Grace, and that's why it works so well. And again, it kind of makes sense why that little action trilogy 4, 5, and 6. I'm trying to think. Sorry, didn't weren't scary. Oh, and also let's just talk about this. I've seen some people say, "Why do you like RE9's action when it's the same as RE6?" Because it's not. RE6 was constantly trying to top itself, and overall lost the identity of the series with terrible controls, and the fact that the combat was pretty terrible. I thought the way that game controlled was horrible. The camera would constantly. I didn't like the running. I think that was just the main thing. Was that while I'm not opposed to running in Resident Evil, that it was so janky there, and the game just wasn't Resident Evil anymore by that point, and just completely lost identity of what the series was, and felt like it was constantly trying to top itself, and it just got so exhausting. It would constantly take control away from you as the player to do a quick time event, which really ruined that game for me. Meanwhile, in Requiem, there is that balance. Even then, Leon's gameplay is so fun. I also do think that the story is pretty well written. it gets a bit messy at some parts, and kind of reflecting on it, there's a few decisions that I will talk more about in spoilers. But I think it does a great job on, again, pushing the series forward, but also having huge respect towards the legacy of the series, and that is no more apparent than us returning back to Raccoon City. Leon's arc in this game is phenomenal. That emotion I felt when we first entered the RPD office again after so long, and returning to Raccoon City and seeing the interior of the RPD and how it's the same as Resident. It was so insane. But again, Leon's arc in the what he faces in this series of him going back to the past, and again, I can't talk about it without spoilers, but I think this is the best he's been written in this series. It's fucking phenomenal. I will say the main villain of this game, Xeno, is a bit on the weaker side. It feels as if they wanted to bring back a certain someone, and if you see how Xeno looks, you know who I'm talking about. But they couldn't, so they just made him instead. I think Victor Gideon is a much better villain overall, but I do think Village is the game before this, Resident Evil 8. Those villains, in my opinion, were phenomenal. From Lady Dimitrescu to her daughters, to Heisenberg, to I think her name was Alicia, the doll girl, to Mother Miranda, and I think I mentioned it, Heisenberg. Fantastic villains all around. I think some of the best in the entire series. I think Village was great. It was in my top 3. This is now in my top 3. Funny. I just think that going from that to this was a bit of a downgrade because I don't think these villains don't leave as much as an impact on, like, say, a Nemesis or Sadler or fucking Wesker even. But yeah, the game also looks phenomenal, and I had it on lower settings because my PC was kind of struggling to run it. I think that's just me overworking it. I did have some background stuff open, and I was also running it on my 4K TV up here, which, yeah, I don't think my computer could really handle. But oh my god, it was such a phenomenal experience because this game gets pretty cinematic, and that's another thing. This game is big in scope, and I love that. RE6 was pretty big, but I think going to Raccoon City here shows the scope. There's this section where you have to get a piece of the detonator as Leon, and just seeing how big Raccoon City, it makes RE3 remake honestly that much more disappointing. So yeah, it feels so different from Resident Evil, but in a way that I actually do like. It feels new and refreshing, but it doesn't lose its identity because, again, there is that balance. When you're having fun and you're chainsawing it up as Leon Kennedy, it throws you back over to Grace, and now you gotta find the keys in order to open this door. That's classic Resident Evil. So again, it not only pays massive respect to the legacy of it, but again, pushes the series forward more. And again, Resident Evil Requiem is proof this series is still fantastic after all these years, and doing phenomenal work to the legacy of the series, while also introducing a promising future. The game genuinely blends perfectly blends the classic style of the formula and gameplay, and is actually pretty scary. That's another thing I forgot to mention. The horror of this game works a lot, and the action-packed style of the middle games is in a way that feels more organic and natural. I think they really honed in the combat there. While the villains are a bit on the weaker side and the story gets a bit convoluted and I think a bit controversial near the end, it is still nothing but a fantastic game. And I'm going to give Resident Evil Requiem an A. By the way, I didn't record gameplay for this, so new rule, if it's like a story game, I'm treating it like a movie review. But if it's like an online game where I can go on and just play a few matches, you'll get footage there. So, yeah, let's just kind of talk about spoilers for a second. One of the main things I want to talk about was the RPD section. I think that's by far the best part of this entire game. The RPD section of Resident Evil Requiem was the most emotional part because we're going and facing the past. And it's so cool seeing the RPD like in its destroyed state, walking in and seeing I liked that section in RE3. I don't know why. I just like it when they reuse locations in a new game and kind of seeing familiar locations. I thought that section in RE3 was really cool, but here it's even cooler because it's destroyed. It's all different looking, and there are items from there that that even help you out here. So hold on, my door opened. Like this lumber, the jack that was used to help the bookcase up. By the way, this game also is just referencing the remake, so I'm curious to know what people think about that and whatnot. But yeah, but there was this moment where Leon goes to the west office, and he sees Officer Martin's name badge, and he says reporting for duty. I felt so emotional during that moment, especially because again they play cutscenes from it. But you want to get a big surprise for who shows up here, Mr. fucking X. I don't think it's the same one that we fought. I think it's just a tyrant. I don't think it's actually Mr. X. It's just sort of another tyrant that was around, or maybe they created him. I I loved seeing that, honestly. Trying to think. There's a part where you go to Kendo's gun shop. Well, funny enough, I was literally like, I don't think we're gonna go there, and I look up, it was there. So fucking emotional because we actually do see the skeleton of Kendo or his daughter or whoever, and it's sad. It was really sad because again we get those flashbacks and Leon feels this regret and he's just so tired and old and yeah. Um Now time to get to what I didn't like about the game, which isn't that much, but there were a few elements of the story in the game that I found a bit weird. Didn't hate, but I do think were a bit weird. One, there's this plot about Grace clones. It I feel like if you removed it a little, it's weird. Grace is needed to help for Elpis, which we find out is I think it was a cure for the T virus, which is what Leon has. It was a cure for the T virus, and I don't know how to feel about it because it's weird and it kind of gets glossed over. They're trying to recreate Grace, so they have the passwords for Elpis, but they were misguided on what exactly Grace's connection to Elpis was, and that was Oswald Spencer. He gets a very prominent role in this game, which I do like, but I think this is one of the more controversial parts, the redemption of Oswald Spencer. So, if you somehow forgot, Oswald Spencer was one of, if not the founding members of Umbrella, the main baddies of the series. He caused this entire thing. I mean, the Spencer Mansion was a front for the Umbrella Lab to work on the T virus. Brother literally killed one of his workers to have more to steal his research, right? That's what happened with Marcus. I don't know. Fucking Leech Man was weird. I don't like RE0. But either way, they kind of make him regret his actions, and that's what Elpis was that it was supposed to it was supposed to think it was supposed to cure the T virus. It was like his redemption. And I just think that's weird to do. I get it, Resident Evil always retcons itself, and I'm fine with that. But here it feels weird because like imagine if they brought back Wesker and made him like remorseful about the action that he caused. I think he should just be a bad guy, big mustache twirling villain. I'm trying to think. Another section that I really didn't like was that stealth mission in the Raccoon City orphanage. Funny I say that. I didn't like that section in RE2 with Sherry, who also shows up in this game. I don't know if that's a spoiler, but I'm putting it here because I don't know if she was leaked. I think it was so cool to see Sherry. There's also a few other things that I will mention that I kind of did bother me a little. But yeah, no, that section was honestly super repetitive, especially if you die a few times during it. I didn't like it. I didn't like it in RE2. I don't like forced stealth missions. I get it, but I like to rush past. I'm trying to think. What else did I not like about the game? Okay, not very nitpicky. So, there's been some talkings of characters who should have been mentioned or shown up. Jill, Claire, Ada. So at the end of the game, we get a name drop of Chris, which I kind of figured Chris would be mentioned, but I knew he wasn't going to show up because I think at this time he's busy with Mia. Ethan's dead at this point, right? And I assume the Shadows of Rose DLC takes place farther into the future. Who knows? But yeah, I assumed that Chris wouldn't show up because he'd be busy with the Winters family. But no mention of Claire, especially by Sherry, who was saved by Claire. And no mention of Jill either. And I get it. I don't think the game needed to do that, but I do get the frustration because we haven't gotten a mainline, like a original mainline game with these two since the Revelation games. So that is a bit more frustrating. But you know what's really surprising to me? Ada didn't show up. This is, I think, the first Resident Evil Leon game without Ada Wong, which is super strange, but also kind of refreshing. She was supposed to show up in Village, and I thought, okay, maybe she would show up here, especially since I feel like she'd want to go after Elpis. So that was surprising. Maybe in a DLC. I'm hoping that the DLC that is, I think at this point, rumored, is about Chris instead. Because I want RE10, because you know they're going to make it. I don't know if, like, Resident Evil X, come on. RE10, I think, should be about Jill. Should bring back Jill and Claire. Because again, because RE8 focused on Chris returning, and then this is Leon's return. I really think we should bring back Jill. And speaking of which, where do I think the series is going to go from here? I don't know, man. I do wonder if Grace is going to be the main character of the next game. Because, like, again, kind of bringing it back, RE8 wasn't as scary as 7 because Ethan got used to it. So, I mean, there was that fucking baby section, but I'm curious if you could still do, like, genuine horror in RE9 and still have it work. Because I noticed that the games that introduce the characters are more scary than like the sequels and follow-ups, because like RE1 was scarier than RE3 in my opinion. RE2 was scarier than RE4, like, and then RE5 and 6 were not scary, and then 7 was scary but 8 wasn't. So I'm curious if 10 will introduce a new character. Oh, also, I don't like how they did Alyssa in this game. To my understanding, she is a very beloved character, and I thought it would be revealed that she was alive, and they kind of just killed her off unceremoniously. Felt like that was very weird. But, I mean, other than that, I think Requiem is a phenomenal game, and a lot of my complaints towards it are more so minor ones, and nothing that actually ruins the game, but more so just kind of questions that I had at some points. But again, don't overall ruin the game. I'm not, because I mean, I was getting tired by that time that we were going to the Raccoon City Orphanage. Dude, I fucking sat in that chair back there and I played this game all day. Oh, also, this game is I think like 12 hours, but the timer in game said I played for 7. What's up with that? Why is I know, like, I paused it and there are cutscenes, but that feels weird. Either way, yeah, Resident Evil Requiem. If so, my next review. What should my next review be? Probably Daredevil? Maybe Ted? I don't know. But until then, hit that like button, subscribe, and uno fastero!